In the opening pages of his Holocaust memoir, Night, Elie Wiesel considers the spiritual power of questions. Every question possesses a power, he tells us, which does not lie in the answer. I came to New York City with powerful questions of my own about the Holocaust. Perhaps the most important questions were, what would I take away from a 2-week seminar that would make sense for my classroom and the students I teach? But I didn't come to New York alone. Educators from writing project sites across the country had come here too, to follow their own inquiries about the Holocaust at the Memorial Library's summer seminar on Holocaust education.
Like all cultures, in my culture, the Native American culture, elders are very special to us. We honor them, revere them, and cherish our time with them as well. It hurts deeply to know that the world will soon be losing the survivors, those elders, these very special people, these bright, shining jewels that have so much to offer the world and can teach us about how to truly live.
So much of what I found myself thinking about wasn't even directly about the Holocaust. I found myself thinking about where hate comes from, the kind of hate that can lead to genocide. What does it take to teach hate? What does it take to unteach hate? And soon these questions came up in our discussions together.
There is a seed of hate in every person that must be fed to grow, but can be weeded out through knowledge and experience. The gardener determines the fate of that seed, and gardeners come in many forms. First parents and grandparents, teachers and friends, ministers and even strangers can all contribute to the growth or death of hate.
Silence thunders, silence reigns even when I scream. Silence grows with a deep root, seldom ever budding, seldom holding water. Silence rings within the bell tower, rarely from the church. Silence rarely hides the mirror, a mirror ornately modest. Silence resonates with the pound of her fist. New generations need to be told new stories and capture the silence, so as not to perpetuate hatred.
And I found myself thinking about where love comes from, the kind of love that can save a life.
Love is the willingness to share your story, even when it breaks your heart and ours.
The kind of love that can save the world.
Love comes from a place of humility, from the knowledge that it is that which makes us human, the capacity to love, that feeds the hearts, minds, and souls of those around us, nourishing us, strengthening us, sustaining us, upholding us.
Though there are no simple answers to questions that are so huge and abstract, there are other answers that we found during our visit to the synagogue for Shabbat.
The thing that kind of sums it all up for me is the following prayer that I found in the Hebrew hymnal, actually. And it said, pray as if everything depended on God. Act as if everything depends on you.
Elohai, I sing unto you a new song. We will take up their yoke. We, the teachers, the children, who bear not the marks of stolen life, who would see the stories told.
In the music we sang,
Leo Tolstoy said, music is love in search of a voice. Music is love in search of a voice. People look to music to lift them to heaven, express love for a creator, or at least catch a glimpse of heaven, whether it be klezmer music, jazz, or Beethoven's Seventh. There's power in music to help us write about love, sing about love, and most of all, feel love in a way that cannot be denied.
In the lines and pages of our own writing,
she braided the dough as her grandmother taught her, with clean and loving hands. Now, as she peeks through the oven window, she sees the fruit of her labor, glossed with a golden brown sheen. Perfect. Today I bring my A game, she muses. I wonder if they'll notice. And she turns an eye to the table set with crystal and wedding china, candles standing at attention, waiting patiently.
In our reflections, in our connections.
As I return to places that seem too small, I must become like Samson, place my calloused hands against the pillars that support all that is wrong, and shove with all my strength. I must stretch that which constricts and force it to encompass all of who I am, all of what I have learned.
The view has widened. New vistas are appearing. I can never look at a railroad car without an intense feeling of anger.
Hate comes from judgment. Is hate speech an inheritance? Is it a social construct? Someone once told me comparison is a cancer.
And the stories shared from each other and from the survivors.
What I was seeing defied comprehension. Actually in itself, it's not much to see. Just a faded letter A followed by the numbers 26182. But what it said across the decades of history reached into my very soul.
Irving has gone through an unthinkable experience, yet he has chosen to live, as he put it. His quote, "I must live and love, if not they would have been successful." I think his thoughts of how to live his life after the Holocaust is rare. Many people choose to become victims or choose to hang on to hate.
But most of all, we found those answers in each other.
A group of teachers gather from all over the country to hear stories of the impossible, stories of hate beyond understanding, stories of genocide. And yet what we see here is love. Love that has grown out of the seeds of hate. I learned that people show love in many ways. Gisela tells her story. What could that be but love?
Hate and love have one really important thing in common. They both take more than one person to become real. Hate cannot exist in a vacuum. Neither can love. They need a giver and a receiver. In this community of colleagues, I found more than one person dedicated to helping me flesh out my questions about the Holocaust and the systems of hatred and love. Like Elie Wiesel tells us in Night, sometimes questions don't lead us to answers.
Hate is born from the whispers of intolerance and blame. Hate triumphs when decent human beings stand by and watch as the others in their lives are dehumanized, broken, and murdered. Love is born from the soothing whisper of a mother to a frightened child. Love triumphs when all hands join and march together into the future of hope, promise, and remembrance.
Hope, promise, and remembrance. Though there are still powerful questions, these are the promises of the answers we seek.